So I just want to introduce Dr. Strand to everyone. He's an assistant professor at a university college in Norway, and has been teaching data communications and physics since 1988. And he's also the Norwegian rep for ISA, the International Coalition for Extraterrestrial Research. So I often see him online every month. So welcome, Erling, and feel free to share your screen and get started.
Thank you. I'm very glad to be invited to tell you a little bit about the happenings in Norway. Let me see. I will share my screen. I have a presentation. Let me see. I think I will do it like this, and also have this in presentation mode. Yeah. Does everyone see that? The Hessdalen UFO lights?
Yep. It's all good.
It's working.
Yep.
That's great. Let me see if there was a chat here, or maybe you can follow. Yeah, yes. Great. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. My name is Erling Strand, and I've been doing this exciting research for many years, not full-time, but on a hobby. First, the Hessdalen is a small valley in Norway, in the middle part of Norway. And it's about 120 kilometers south of the city, Trondheim city. And the valley itself is not that big. It's about 15 kilometers long, or about 10 miles though, from where it starts and to the end. And in that small valley, it's only 100 inhabitants at the moment. There was, when we had the first investigation up there, when it started with a lot of sightings, it was close to 200. But now it's 100, approximately. And you have some mountains to the west and to the east. And you have also some lakes in the valley, and one big one, or two big ones, and several smaller lakes. If you are standing on Mount Ragnefjell to the eastern part of the valley and looking towards west, toward Mount Finnsahøgda, you see the picture, how it looks like. In that hill, well, it started, the first sighting was seen in that hillside, far down from below the horizon. When people saw a light standing still there, and they was wondering what could it be, because there is no roads, no houses, nothing, only wilderness, and the hillside also steep, so it's difficult to be there. They saw it not every day, but very often during the period before it started in 1981. And on one occasion, they saw it was moving out of this hillside or mountainside and continued to the right, to the north. Then they started to wander. And if you are looking in the other opposite direction from Mount Finnsahøgda, and you see Mount Stordalshøgda and Mount Ragnefjell also, you see the picture on the bottom left, and you can also see some Hessdalen, that's some kind of hill in the middle of the valley. That location was also very popular for some who wanted to go up there and take pictures. So the view from his pictures is quite similar as the picture you see below. Well, it started November or maybe December, more 1981, this big UFO flap. And this high intensity with up to 20 observations a week lasted to the end of 1984. Well, the most on the 20 observations a week, which was the highest activity that happened in early 1983 in the wintertime. Well, we wrote down several reports, we interviewed several people, and if you look at the description, they tell about what they saw. About 85% describe it as a light. So that's also why we call it the Hessdalen lights, because most of it is a light. It turned out that after the end of 1984, in 1985, the activity or the amount of observation went down to about 20 observations a year. So that's, but although 20 observations a year in such a small valley is quite big, I will say. We established the project Hessdalen back in June 3rd, 1983. So the main goals of our project was to get scientific data and also get the UFO phenomena accepted. So we made a leader team and consisted of 5 people, which had different responsibilities during this first part and get the scientific data and so on, fieldworks. I could mention that when it started late 1981 and we started the project, established it in June 1983, 1.5 years, it's a long time. And that's due to that we have several research facilities around, we have universities, and the people who had witnessed this was wondering, why doesn't that university do something? Why doesn't that research facility do something? And I was asking, and also the newspaper was talking about that. So why isn't anything done to do a research activity up in that valley to see if some good data could be established? Well, we had some, I and some friends, we also discussed that, but we found out that when no one else do something, why doesn't we try to do something? And we decided to do, and we started that project Hessdalen back in 1983. During the autumn, we prepared a fieldwork which took place out from January 21st to February 26th in 1984. Remember, that time in Norway is winter time. It was snow, cold, etc. We had tents and everything. So, but we managed to carry out that fieldwork. It was such a success. I will, in the way that we managed to get some good data, and due to that happening, that we managed to get the data and so on, we wanted to do it once more. And in 1985, we had a new fieldwork, which lasted from January 14 to January 28 with instrument, and to February 10th without any instruments. So we had collected participants who could help us out in the field, and totally 40 persons participated. Not all the time, but we had someone coming and being there some days and so on, but there were totally 40 different persons. Well, that is part one, which I will tell you a little bit more about. I could say that in the last field work in 1985, we got only one observation. That's very little compared with back in 1984. So we believed it was stopped, the activity of observation had stopped. But in 1993, I was up in Hessdalen to tell about the results after the fieldworks. It had gone nearly 8 years since we started, and or had the first or second fieldwork. They wanted to know, the inhabitants up in Hessdalen wanted to know what had happened. And I had a presentation up in the valley for the local inhabitants. And then they told me that it still continues. And I was wondering, oh, why you don't say anything? Why did you not tell us or tell anyone about it? And they said that in the first year, when we started to tell about it in the press and so on, we were ridiculed so much that we decided to not tell about it anymore. But anyway, they told me that there was going on, and I decided to start part two in 1993. At that time, I was working at Oslo University College, which I still do. And we had this part two run by one of my college too, and we had 3 college employees now. So I take a little bit summary first now. I will go more into details. Well, part two, we have started with a scientific workshop in 1994. And we had several bachelor projects, technical, mainly to make some instruments, to do some measurements on that. We set up an automatic station in 1998, which we now call a blue box, because the station is actually a blue box container, small container, which is blue, with a lot of instruments inside. We put it up in operation 1998. We had what we called EMBLA fieldworks together with some scientists from Italy. You know, the network of scientists interested in this topic has grown during the years, and the Italian was very, very keen on to take part of it. And we run some what we call EMBLA fieldworks. That's consisted mostly of people from Norway, mostly us, and the researchers from Italy, not many people. In 2002, we started with what we call science camp for young students, because young students, at that time, in the beginning of 2000, there was a problem in the way that students didn't choose mathematics or physics in their study. That was not popular. So very few students in Norway choose that topic. And the government was a little bit worried because our society is depending on technical people who can keep the power system up and everything like that. So they was afraid that it would be too few people to take care of our society, or the technical part of our society. So the government said, could we influence the young students to start study mathematics and physics? That would be great. And then we decided, why not show them that science, mathematics and physics can be exciting? So we took students, young students, 14, 15, 16 years old, to run a camp out in the Hessdalen Valley. I will tell you more about that, and that has been going on since that. And this, I could say that the students are very satisfied, because sometimes the phenomena is showing up. In 2010, we had 2 new automatic field stations running on batteries and solar, not any power from the 220 volt or anything like that, just batteries and solar panels. That these 2 stations was built by scientists from France. At that time, we had also involved scientists from France, which built their own station up there. And 2016, we managed to have a course for our students, which are bachelor students, older students though, which we call fieldwork. So that is going out in Hessdalen, similar as science camp, stay there for 1 or 2 weeks out in the mountains with instruments and everything like that. That's part of their a course they can choose. Well, I could say that now, part 3, which was presented for you for the first time, we have a new owner of the blue box, or the automatic measurement station in Hessdalen, and that happened in 2021. We goes over to the private now. Visit Hessdalen is the owner there. The main reason is that it has always been difficult to cover all the expenses with running an automatic station. And it turned out that Visit Hessdalen was keen on having it still running. So they was willing to take some of the cost of this. That, I would say, after they got in on the ownership, it has been much easier. And we are now preparing a new instrumentation system inside the blue box, which will work automatically. And we have also established a new team of people last December. The team consists of people with different background, which all of them are interested in having this automatic station in operation, and of course they're interested in UFO as well. So quite recently we are planning to organize Project Hessdalen in a new way. We're doing that now, so we'll see how it turned out to become. And one of the main topics is to develop the blue box with better instruments, and of course all the data will be presented, or will be possible for people around the world to take part of. Well, that's a new part 3, which we are just started. But I will go back to the early days and everyone called it UFO in the beginning. And also a newspaper wrote about the UFO, and that was early 80s, 1980s. And at that time, it was not acceptable. If you worked with UFO, that was not good for the ordinary public. And when we started Project Hessdalen, and I wanted to take people from research establishment, part of it, help us with all the instruments and so on. So when we prepared the first field work, I went around to different research facilities, to universities and so on, and talked about the UFO in Hessdalen. And I soon found out that the scientists was, let me see, a little bit afraid of that word. They didn't like to be connected with UFO research. So we decided to change the name to the Hessdalen phenomena, because then it was much more easy to involve the different scientists in the topic. So, well, the word UFO actually made it difficult to bring the topic into the science community, so we made a new word and we call it the Hessdalen phenomenon. Yeah. So it turned out that it has several different appearances or types. Most of the observation of the lights can be split into 3 categories. One is a strong white or blue flashes, and they can last from only a fraction of a second to up to a couple of seconds. Yellow or yellow-white balls of light, different shapes. They can stand still for minutes, even hours, and they can move slowly or even fast. Can be several meters in diameter, and the ground beneath it has been illuminated. And sometimes also another light with another color has been attached to the main light. And the third category is several lights together. It looks like these lights are connected to an object. So when these are moving, all the different lights are moving together, as if it's connected to what some people say a black object when it's been seen when it's not completely dark outside. So, but also ordinary objects have also been seen. I could mention one of them. That was a hunter. He was surprised with 3 objects. The hunter can be seen to the right now. He was hunting up there on birds. It's a very good nature up there, popular to go there to do hunting. And he went walking, looking for birds he could shoot with his rifle. And suddenly he got a very strange feeling. He said it was like the air was removed around him. He felt something from behind. And suddenly he saw 3 sharp shadows coming from behind. You know, the sun was up, so the sun was shining down, and he saw these shadows coming. He moved, turned around, and looked up and saw 3 disc-shaped objects very near. He said they were approximately 4 meters in diameter, and suddenly all 3 turned over to the one side with the bottom in front and moved away with a very high speed. I could say also that after this happening, Holland did never, ever go on hunting anymore. And he sold his rifle, and he was a little bit shocked. This is a drawing which was made by his description, and he could describe what it looked like on the bottom and so on. My first observation was in 1982, 25th of September. You know, people, the newspapers around had started to write about all the observation in the small valley, and many people took the tour up to the valley to see it for themselves. And many people, it happens so often that many of those who went up there to see it for themselves, they did see it. I and some friends did also go up there to see it, if we could see it for ourselves. And I remember that very well. I was the cross or the star type, it was where it was located. I was to the north, up looking towards south, and another friend of mine was with some other. We were a group of people split on 3 different locations, and 2 of us did manage to see it. We took also pictures. Here's one of them. You see the light phenomena. You can see also the edge of Mount Stordalsegda in the background, so it was down on the valley. It moved around close to 2 hours. This stopped sometimes. Sometimes it went so close to the ground that the ground was eliminated. Sometimes up again. Sometimes it turned on a spotlight, which both up in the air and down on the ground. So the ground could be illuminated from this spotlight. And it moved around, stopped, and moved around slowly for nearly 2 hours. That made a very strong impression on me because it was much bigger, much stronger than I had expected based on what had been written in the newspaper. Well, some other pictures here's all these pictures are been taken with camera on tripod. So this yellow, when a yellow light is moving over the sky, it make track on the film. Here's one of these pictures, and this was a yellow light with red blinking sometimes. You can see one of them here. I mentioned blue flashes, which last very a short time, fraction of seconds. You have captured light phenomena moving across the sky, taking pictures. When we study the pictures afterwards, we see that it seems that something is coming out from the main light or going into it. That was seen on the picture, as you see in there. It can also change shapes. This picture with long exposure managed to capture 3 flashes, and you see the shape of it is different from all these different shapes. From the just glowing part with not any sharp surface. In the middle, you can see something in the glowing light start to turn out to be something, and to the right, you see this strange shape of light. This picture was taken of a photographer who said that when I took the picture, it disappeared. But he managed to capture the disappearance on the film. And one strange thing is it started to move to the left and make a sharp angle down and move up again and continue the travel to the left. If you think of this sharp angle with such as high speed, because it happened so fast that the photographer didn't manage to see it. He said it just disappeared. Here's another story with an observer who saw a light was coming from the top of the mountain. And this drawing was made of the observer. The light was coming towards him, moved to the left down in the valley, and it also passed the other hill very down in the valley. So Aspåsjøen is on the other hill to the left of Finnsøhøgda. It was in front of that. On this day, yeah, here's another drawing he made of Finnsøhøgda, moving like this. And he managed to take a picture. And that day, it was foggy. The fog was blowing, or the clouds, you could say, was down on the mountain. It was snowing sometimes, and it stopped snowing, and it started to snow again. It's a day with a lot of fog. This was the first picture. It moved in that direction, which the arrows say, and he managed to take another picture. He turned the camera to the left, and it disappeared behind that hill. If it would have been clear weather, you could have seen a mountain in the background. So this was very low in the mountain. And it happened during the fog and so on. So it happened in all weather, different weather conditions. This is a truck. The reason why it called that is that the shape of it, it could look like a driver place on the left, and the cargo on the right. That light, or this phenomenon, has been seen very close to where people are living too, and they explain that the size of it was like a big truck. We have analyzed several of them, but we cannot. It's a real phenomenon. Another story. Let me see if I can. Yeah, I will maybe speed up a little bit. We have several of those stories. This one was seen by some kids south in Hessdalen. It was coming from north, and you see this red circle. It describes the size where the light illuminated the lake. It was moving towards south and down here on this map, and it disappeared behind this mountain. Just some minutes after it was gone, the witnesses said they saw a ring of light down in the lake. On the bottom, you see the two pictures they managed to take of it. Another interesting drawing made of the observation place and how it was moving. To the right, you see a drawing of the object itself. It was a black object with three lights onto it. It was clearly attract to this, and they managed to take a picture. You can see it here. We have also some daylight observation. This we call the brown bread because the witness described this as, you can imagine, a bread with light in front. It was moving quite slowly down in the valley. You could see the hillside in the background. The picture, the nature was actually taken just where she was standing, seeing this. It couldn't be far away because the distance to that hillside is, I would guess, a maximum, well, between 100 and 200 meters. This was moving without any sound, slowly following the valley. This is also a reconstruction of what other people have seen there. They call it the Zeppeliner, and you have several different forms of these observation. This is also a reconstruction from the documentary, The Portal, where they observed, it was in the daytime, and the sun was up, and the witness was surprised, well, first of all, surprised of the phenomena coming without any sound down in the valley, moving towards left to the south. And what the other thing who surprised him was that the brightest part of it was on the opposite side than where the sun was. You could expect when you have a strong sunlight that when the sunlight is on to the object, it would have been brightest on that side, but the brightest part was on the other side. Let me see, here's another story. I see my time is running. Let me see, this was a hat. The witness driving the car, so it started to become bright around her on all different locations. And when she had driven a little bit further on, the object, the hat, moved away, and she could see that form. This is also another type which the observer, he saw this coming out from a visible portal in the sky. He had been climbing up on the mountain. He should go a tour in the daytime. It was sunshine upside. It was nice weather. He was, after his climbing, he sat down to rest a little bit. And while he was resting there, something started to come, he said, coming out from an invisible portal in the sky. So he saw the first part to the left in the beginning, and slowly the whole object turned out to be visible. This shape and this glowing part around this metal type of object has been seen of other people too, on different occasions. Well, start the project in Hessdalen. We hadn't any money, but we borrowed instruments around. The participant didn't get any money at all. We didn't have any money, but they used their free time from job, holidays, and so on to go up and take part of this fieldwork. We had borrowed a cabin from the local inhabitants in 1984. We borrowed also a cabin in 1985 on the second fieldwork. We even had a visit from Professor Heineck from the state, who visited us out in the field in 1985. The instruments we had, this is a brief, you can have all the details in the technical report, which you can find on our website. We have a camera with grating, so you can get the optical spectrum. In that way, it's possible to find what kind of type, what is illuminating, what elements, and so on. Infrared viewer, spectrum analyzer to see if there was any radio waves. People have told about disturbance on the radio and television signals, and this show up. We wanted to check if there was any local seismic activity, because some claim that it is only piezoelectric effect from the mountain when there are so small earthquake. Well, due to that, we wanted to check it, and we had a seismograph which could measure any Earth quakes around. It did not measure any local activity up there. Magnetometer measure the Earth magnetic field and if there is any connection with the fluctuation in the magnetic field. We had a radar, so you can see if it could follow it on the radar screen, and Geiger counter, which could tell us if there was any radioactive radiation very close by. Well, short description, radar, we capture it on radar, even when we couldn't see anything. Sometimes we could see it coming up in the valley on the radar screen, and the observer who was standing outside couldn't see anything was coming. Of course, well, some of the lights was also captured on the radar. The highest speed we measured was 30,000 kilometers an hour. That's a high speed without any sound. Spectrum analyzer instruments measure electromagnetic signals, and there was some noise, electromagnetic noise in the broad frequency band, so you can say that those who had reported some noise in the television and radio could have been correct. Magnetometer, some observation was made during large magnetic activity, so it could be some connection there. Laser, maybe the most spectacular testing we did was to point a laser beam, and not as strong, towards a flashing light, and you change the flashing frequency. The reason why we did that test was that people who had seen this and who had seen this phenomena had used a strong spotlight to point to the light, and they said that when they did that, it disappeared. So we wanted to do such similar test with a laser, but we used a laser instead of strong spotlight. During the first fieldwork, we got 53 visual observations during the fieldwork. Well, we got more though, but it was 53 who we can say is the Hessdalen phenomenon. Sometimes we had a rocking motion, as if you're out in a boat in an ocean with waves, you got that feeling. So, but was standing still on the ground. So it obviously was something which influenced your inner ear, so you can got that feeling. And we later found out if you have a very strong low frequency electromagnetic radiation present, that could influence your head or your inner ear in a way that you got such a feeling. Another thing which could make you have that feeling is that if you have a strong infrasound, sound which is below where you can hear. But we hadn't any instruments at that time, so we don't know what was the cause of this rocking motion. Well, first of all, the interaction of the laser. You know, this flashing light, which doubled the flashing frequency, where the red laser beam was directed to it, not strong, only 1 milliwatt. That's a weak laser. The flashing frequency went back to normal when the laser beam was removed. This test was done 9 times, and this doubling happened in 8 of those. Maybe the strange thing that the light we saw on one occasion, Monday the 15th of February, a red light was seen moving on the ground close to the feet of the observers, which are quite similar to the red light laser we used. We started with the first international workshop. I started the workshop the project again. We stopped it after 1985 because we only managed to get one good observation in 1985 compared with over 50 the year before. So we thought it was gone, so we stopped it. The project Hessdalen, only walking around with people and telling about it to journalists and so on. So when we started the project again, I had decided to invite some of the scientists I've been presented this for different places around the world, mainly ball lightning scientists, because I wanted to know if this had anything to do with ball lightning. So I participated in conferences they had, or workshop, ball lightning scientists, and had a discussion on them. But we later found out it was too much main differences between a ball lightning and this Hessdalen light. So we decided it has nothing to do with ball lightning. Well, anyway, those scientists, was mainly from ball lightning scientists, participated in this workshop I had up in Hessdalen, or we had in Hessdalen in 1994. And among the participants, Professor Boris Smirnov, he said that the phenomenon contains some qualitative elements which at the present time has no analog in science. Thus, the solution of this problem must lead to new concepts in science. This is a physics professor. Similar from David Freiberg, he said that the Hessdalen phenomenon project has established beyond doubt that the Hessdalen lights are real physical phenomena. These phenomena lies outside of already known physics. The most important thing after this workshop is that the press changed. No more smiling when reporting about observation in Hessdalen. When they saw that the serious scientists came all the way up to Hessdalen and discussing this phenomena, and they soon realized it's not any topic we can make joke of anymore. So that was very good. Well, we had some fieldworks with Italian scientists, EMLA, I call it, EMLA from 2000 to 2004. We had different instruments up there. We also, well, I decided to establish an automatic measurement station. Well, I heard it when I was up there in 1993, and they told me that it still continued. Instead of organizing a fieldwork, we decided to make an automatic station, and I used my student to build the station. And after 4 years, 1998, we put it in operation. Well, here you see the blue box. You know why we had the name, the blue box, with different instruments. We have a tower with a lot of cameras, etc. up there, and it's still operation. Here's some of the pictures when taking of the camera. The camera is connected to a computer which analyzes the pictures from the camera all the time. And whenever the software detects something unusual or something which hasn't been seen on the previous pictures, it stored the result and start the video recorder and share it. Let me see if this is one or you can see the light is moving over the sky, and it's changing shape, the form, and suddenly you could see also a small light beneath it suddenly start and go up in the big. Let me see when it's 38 seconds, small light is just beneath go up in the big one. So that's the video automatically started when it was detected by the alarm system. Well, that was a light going into a big light, and a similar on the other direction, a smaller light coming out from a bigger light. That has been also seen by people who are looking at the light and the binocular. You can see this is taken from a movie, pictures from a movie taken by Massimo de Teoderani. And on the upper left, you see the light, and on the bottom or the middle, you see something starting in the middle, coming out and then it disappeared, this ball of light coming out from the big light. That has been also seen several times. Well, science gap. Students out in the field with instruments. We got funding from the government to run this because it could possibly engage the interest of the young students to study physics and mathematics. So we brought the young students with the teachers up in the valley, stayed in tents up in the mountain. Normally in September, it's cold up there at that time as well. They stayed there 1 week, but they were so keen to take part of it. It becomes so popular, even if the surrounding was not so good, sleeping in a tent up in the cold Norwegian mountain in Hessdalen. But the young student didn't care about that. Well, they had instruments, camera, the intents, yes, I said. And in the beginning, we had 4 different locations. Base Camp Rogne, Base Camp Finnså, Skarvan, Jungen, and the blue box located also, you can see where it is. Here's a picture of one of the camps on Rognefjell, Mount Rogne. You see the tents and some of the instruments as well, which are also into the tents. The students are looking to the computers where the instruments are connected. This is another similar station with tents and equipment outside. And this is the third one, Jungen, with tents, also a cabin. At that location, it was possible to bring a cabin. On the other location, it was up in the mountain, so the student has to walk up or climb up the mountain with their heavy stuff on the back and set up the tents and so on. But on Jungen, it was possible to drive to the location. Well, the phenomena can show up anytime. It's exciting, and the students love it, and they learn science and experience the unknown. One of the main goals was, of course, to engage the students to be interested in mathematics and physics. But for me, it was also important that when you see it for yourself, your attitude to such a phenomenon normally change. It's not that then you take it seriously, and that I think is very important. At first science camp 2002, more than 600. Well, now it's more than several, close to 1,000. The attitude changed to the positive, and the phenomena become more accepted as a real phenomenon. So, well, here's some of the instruments they used, and here's some of the pictures as well. Let me see now. I think I've speed up. Yeah, a lot of here's some optical spectrum I see it's on this. I will speed up anyway, and I think I can also take. We had a setup with a reference light, the optical spectrum. Here we saw the light outside of this view. Well, let me see. I have half an hour more. Yeah.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
Yeah, great. I can take it a little bit more. Good. I thought it was on 1 hour. Well, this observation, we had a setup with a camera taking picture every minute, 30-second exposure time, and it was directed over from one of the field stations, Montrogna, looking over the mountain, and to the left you see lights from the houses in the valley, and the optical spectrum. You can also see what color the different lights from the street light and so on as in the valley. We had a reference light with the optical spectrum on, so we could hopefully get the phenomena onto the picture with also a reference light. This light, it turned out that reference light was not in the direction where they saw it turning on. So we had to turn the camera while this light was showing up. So the movement you see on this picture is mostly due to the movement of the camera during the exposure time, changing the direction. But when we took the next picture, it was steady on the tripod, and the picture was directed, taking the picture automatically, going into the computer. And here is one of these pictures. You see the color beneath that, the optical spectrum. You can say what kind of color it is, consisting of in the main light, which is up there. And it seems that you cannot see any emission line here. It seems to be continuous. That could indicate it could be some kind of heat. But the strange thing, no one has reported any heat when they have been close to it. Yeah, and well, let me see if I got the picture of the light. There's also some. Well, there's a sound on that movie, which I don't think you managed to hear. But anyway, it was the student who was screaming. Let me see. We analyzed this picture, and we saw it from different locations, different stations, so we can cross-point where it was. So the size of it was 2.2 kilometers. We also had a radar present, so it was captured on the radar screen even before the main light shoved up, and also after the main light. The radar started to see the light 1 hour before we could see it, and it continued showing up on the radar screen close to 1 hour after the light was seen, but then it disappeared also from the radar. We have done some analyzing of this, go fast through. It turned out it was a lot of infrared light into it. Here's another interesting story, a landing of a light onto a snow. It was not in Hessdalen, but the description of the light was similar. Some people were up in the cabin, you can see in the picture up in the right, and there was standing there, it was winter time. On the bottom, you can see the view from the cottage. You can even see the part of the roof from the cottage, and the crosses, the black crosses on the other side of the lake. It was the direction where it was moving. It was moving from right to left, and on the cross, the black cross which was made on the picture, it was where it stopped, and from there it went down to the ground, and it was snow then, and ice on the lake, and when it went down, the witness saw it, the snow was illuminated very much, very strong, and then suddenly the intensity nearly went down to close to zero. It was possible to see it. So when it hit the snow, it lost the light intensity. Very soon after, just some seconds, it started to go up again in the same direction, straight up in the beginning, and the intensity started to increase again, and it followed the same track. In front of that hillside, you see, so the black crosses is where it was moving in the direction to the right. And when it was moving, not fast, but slowly, it increased the intensity again. So not long after, the intensity was as strong as it was in the beginning. They went to see if there was any track the day after, and they find tracks in the snow about 60 centimeter wide, spiral formed, and the snow had not melted, but the track was about 2 to 3 centimeters deep. So, well, each of the spirals, we managed to take samples of the snow and examine the bacteria amount of it. We took one from the track itself, one from between the tracks, and one reference from 10 meters away. And between the tracks and the 10 meters away, it was a normal amount of bacteria. But in the track itself, it was a completely different kind of bacteria. First of all, it was another type of bacteria, which is normally harder to kill by eliminating or whatever. It's harder to kill, and it was very few of them. That's on the bottom. You see, you can count the different dots, which are bacteria's colonies. And in the middle, and the one to the right, is a normal amount of bacteria. So it turned out that probably something from the light had killed the bacteria, but you had to be very close because, between the tracks, it's about 2.5 meters. So in the middle, it's only just more than 1 meter away, and there the bacteria was normal. I've been to Australia as well, in the Kimberley, and had an expedition back in 1995, and on the bottom right, it turned out to be the same type of light as at the the white or blue flashes in Hessdalen, and these flashes are so short in duration that it's difficult to see. Sometimes you can imagine you see something, but before you are ready to observe it, it's gone. But as I say, that when you believe you see something, it could be that it's due to the short duration that your part of your brain actually can see it, but or part of you, but it is too short to be seen regularly. But normally, this kind of light, when they start to occur, very often they continue during a period of time with different flashes around. And I knew that from Hessdalen on the picture, the black dark picture on the right part, you can see the blue flashes. 3 flashes happened when I took the picture. I took the picture with long exposure time because I had felt I had seen something but was not sure. But I took a picture and I managed to get 3 flashes. Yeah, it's not so far from Kununurra. We landed there. Is this area on northwest of Australia. It's very not many people living there. And back in 1995, it was actually into the operational land. So we had to ask there for permission to go there. And they also did tell us about several observations they have had in that area. I brought some magnetometer with me. We could measure the magnetic field and the Earth magnetic field. And the Earth magnetic field can sometimes have some what they call pulsation that in a way oscillate, they vibrate. Not too strong though, but it can be detected on instruments. We had this running, and we had from Hessdalen, we knew that when such a pulsation happening, it can also be in correlation with the observation. And if you see the black arrows I've written on the sheet of paper, that's when we had observation of the phenomena. And it started with the black arrow to the left, and just after the magnetic field started to oscillate. And then we got a new one, the second arrow from the left, and then the intensity of the pulsation increased again, and such it continued like this. In the middle of this this green pen we was using, I increased the speed of the writing so I could see the frequency of the signal, this oscillation, which was 2 Hertz, which is quite normal for a magnetic pulsation. But what was not normal is the high intensity. The peak to peak was 800 nanotesla. That's much stronger than a normal pulsation are recorded with. Yeah, back in Hessdalen, I want to show you this picture. This cannot directly be connected with the lights phenomena. It is a piece of wet soil who have been cut from the wet ground and lifted up and moved some few meters. You can see the hole where it was cut in the upper picture, and you can see also the the piece of wet soil. What's strange that this wet soil is quite big, and it's impossible, I would say, impossible to take out that by hand without make it damage. It was cut in one piece, lifted up and placed beside where it was lifted up. That was really strange because it was not any damage onto it. And you have to, if you should have had the possibility to lift that, you have to have some big trucks or big thing to move it. But there was not any track at all in the ground. Well, some other pictures from Hessdalen. Many people go up there to take a picture of the nature because it's nice view and so on. And some of those when they see the pictures afterwards, they realize that something has been captured on their picture. They didn't see it when they took the picture, but saw it afterwards. Here's one of these pictures. Here's another one, which was taken from a very hot spot in Hessdalen. And there's another thing, another tube of light. The sun is on the right side, coming from this picture was towards east, so the sun is in the south at that time. And if you look at the enlargement of the cube, you see a black part. And the strange thing is that is towards where the sun is. You should expect that this, when it was illuminated by the sun, that should be the brightest part of it. So that's strange, as we think. It's quite something unusual. Here's another one too, with not the cube, but all the strange shapes which shows up on the picture of the nature, nice weather. Here's another drawing. This is a drawing made of one of the observers, which was on the cottage west of Hessdalen, where is close to nothing, not any people or only nature, wild nature. She went up in the middle of the night because she didn't manage to sleep. She said strange because normally she has no problem with sleeping. But she went to the window and saw this object, which was first, you see it, the drawing on the right, that was the shape of it. It moved and turned around, so the bottom was seen on the drawing in the middle, and then it disappeared onto the ground. Well, here's another pictures with blue flashes. We told that the flashes of light can show up anywhere, and when it starts, I say that if you believe you see something or even see something which lasts for a fraction of a second, take a picture, because then it's a high probability that something is captured onto the next picture with a long exposure time, normally 30 seconds we use. Yeah, here is one of them. Here's another one below the horizon. Here's another one also just above the horizon. And yes, another one. They are all taken the same day. So during that period of time, it showed up many times. So we took 15 pictures where it shows up. I will also mention that we involved scientists from abroad, and we're wondering why Hessdalen, what's specific with this valley or these mountains in them. So we have involved geophysicists from France and Greek. Here is where they have walked with their instruments, taking measurement every 20 meters, the magnetical and electrical field. The different colors, they've been there several years. 2014, the first that are red. 2016 is where they walked in 2016 and 17 and 18. So the different colors just tell where they have gone, done measurements, and found out if there could be any specific in the ground. So here is where they walked on the geophysical map, where you have the different in the ground, and they said that they could measure some very high local spot with magnetical density, much high. They could also measure conductivity in the ground below the surface, actually down in the ground, had very high conductivity. It was any power could be, electrical power could be taken by this conductivity area. So that was the main thing they said so far. But that itself doesn't explain why the phenomena shows up, but it say that it's something specific in the ground of magnetical and electrical character. It is also a district in Norway with different kind of elements in the ground. You have copper, you have sulfur, you have iron, and this area in Norway, it's rich on different kind of elements. But saying that how is the connection with that to the light? We don't know. Maybe not the connection, but well, anyway, that's the reason why it's what's specific in the ground in Hessdalen. Well, some of the data, well, a few times it seems to be some kind of interaction. I will point at 4 times. However, that is so few compared with all the different sightings, the great amount of sightings. So I don't take these as a proof that the system itself is some kind of interaction or intelligence. That can be discussed, of course, but it can be seen on radar, even when it cannot be seen with our eyes. When there are magnetic storms or high humidity as well, the probability to see the Hessdalen lights increases. Electromagnetic signals have been detected. The Hessdalen phenomenon can show up from nowhere and just disappear. Can it be high energy light, UV light? One of the pictures indicate that, but that could be very interesting to continue to do some measurement in the ultraviolet area to see if it shows up more in that area and that out of the visible area of the light, ultraviolet. Yeah, many different kind of shapes and speeds, and you have these three types, small flashes, strong flashes, lasting for a second or less than a second. Balls of light, which can last for minutes or even hours, and go around slowly and fast, and the different object will light onto it. And you have these daylight observation as such. Why does all these different types happen in one place? Has there anything to do with each other? Could there be different solution or answer to what it could be? We don't know yet. But if there is different solutions on what it is, why does all of them happen in a small Norwegian valley? Yeah, it can be different solutions of different types, but why does all this happen in Hessdalen? Yes. Well, there are several proposals, natural proposals, which I don't think anyone of these will give an answer to all these different sightings. But anyway, these are words of something natural, which have been claimed by some scientists. Well, you have a lot of, I will not go through all of this, but I will just say that all these doesn't explain all of the sightings. Maybe some may give some explanation, some part of sightings, some type, but none explain all of them. So I think that we need to think outside of the box to find a solution. Well, here's something more. We have to the end, I will just say we have a website which you can go into. Let me see, I got it here. If you got it, you didn't do it, I think. I will change my my sharing so you get that too. Let me see now if that is the, oops, not sure. Do you see that one? Well, I can share the whole screen for a period of time. So let me see if you got it.
We can see that.
Well,
we can see.
Yeah, you can see it. Yeah, we have a website, hessdalen.org, www.hessdalen.org. We have a Norwegian and English version, and you can click there and see some information. And you can also see that every morning there comes alarm from the alarm system, which are gone through manually. The last time was 31st of, that was last night. I haven't gone through that one yet, but I do this manually. Those who are interested, I put on what I call pictures. So you can see the different, also the picture and the movie, which I think can be interesting. This is mainly from the station, but you can also find some of the observations done. For instance, this one, as I showed you on my presentation, is from 14 September 2016. We have on this website, you can also find some stories from people. Observation this year, that was, well, so far only one story from the people. You can go back and see on other observation past the earlier year. And yeah, we have also one which describe an alien, and also drawing of that one. We have several pictures, original pictures as well, so we can have a look at the different types. Hessdalen.org, a lot of stuff you can read there. So let me see now. I should goes down. Now you can see everything. And let me see, not that one. I think. Oops. Yeah. I think I finished now, and here's the website, and I can finish my presentation now.
Oh.
So thank you for your attention. Great. I stop my share.
Yep. Thank you, Erling. You happy to take some questions from people?
Sure.
Yeah. If anyone would like to ask Erling a question, please do.
When I started it, I thought, well, when we get some results, we do some measurement, we can find a solution. But I had some questions, of course, in the beginning. But the more results I get, the more mysterious it becomes. So, well, I know much more of it. I presented much of it. But I don't have the answer. It becomes even more mysterious. Some of it point in different directions as well. For instance, the high speed without any sound. If it should have been physical, you should have expected and zooms and sound. Not any sound at all. You could. That's. You have the radar. And sometimes it comes out from nowhere. So after the years of studying, there have been some collected more of such strange things. And for instance, also the strange forms of light capture on the daytime, which I showed you on the last part, they have mostly started to appear. I think the first one was in 2015, and we have had running the science a long time. It seems to sometimes it changed a little bit. Well, is it so? It has always been there without we being aware of it. And for instance, the cube with the black thing towards the black side towards the sun, you should expect not such a thing with our kind of thinking. And of course, another thing, what could it be that it turned out to be something when it's visible? It turned out to be visible from nowhere, and also it's captured on radar. clearly it's something there, but it's not possible to see. Well, you know, I could have talked and talked and talked. It's a more mystery now than we started. And I believe also that when we manage to go in the right direction, bring in the topics that it needed to maybe find a solution, it may be a breakthrough, could maybe even a paradigm, I don't know.
You mentioned there was a case in 1983 with the invisible portal in the sky where a mental communication took place. Could you expand on that?
Well, that I cannot say what was communicated because only the witness can say that. So it's not official.
Okay.
But I could say that it was something connection there.
Right.
We have also some other very few though, which claim that.
Have you ever had
that? Not what I say directly. No, not in a way that you think of as an communication. But I think a communication can take place in all different kinds of forms, maybe forms which we are not fully accepted yet. I don't think we should expect any talking or something like that. Could it be that the light itself is a way of communicating? It's not maybe not the light itself, but that could maybe be a way of communication. You know, you hear that I'm going into speculations now, so be aware of that.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have had some observations or recordings of some spikes high up in the frequency, a different kind of frequency. I think the most important we did during the measurements back in the fieldwork in 1984, we had the electromagnetic detection of some spikes on the spectrum analyzer. Electromagnetic signals can be seen on the screen as a spike coming up. And on our recordings, it did spikes with 80 megahertz between each, and it went up and down. So it could be some high electrical pulses generated from the ground. That's all. That could be.
Is there anything else you'd like to say, Erling, about the UFO subject itself, where you're at in your own understanding?
Well, I hope that what we have done, whatever, it's possible to start doing measurement on hotspots around the world. And I hope that more people, more groups of people can do that. And I hope also that more people can involve students, those who are in position of having young students, even kids, bringing them out in the field. I hope that when I feel that we have shown that it's possible to do something for the kids and do something for the people. And I hope that it will be more acceptable for those who have strange observation to dare to tell about it. Because if no one hears about the different observations, different happenings where people have, because they don't dare to tell it to anyone, then the science will not go further on. I think it's important. So I hope that one of my goals has also been to show it's not dangerous. It's normal people who see this, observe it. It reminds me about a phone call. One old person told me after he felt that the Hessdalen light phenomena has been accepted as a real phenomenon. He was 80 years old. He told me about his observation when he was 20, walking home out in the countryside in the nighttime, and he had that strong, for him it was a strong impression, which he hadn't told to anyone everywhere. So he told it to me 60 years after the happening, because he now thought it was acceptable to see something like that. And that, in a way, that's how it is. I hope it will be more natural. It will be possible for people to tell about their happening, the stories. But first of all, it will bring the science forward. And the other thing, I think that the human itself, when you accept the such strange happening, it will open up your brighter view itself. It's not maybe only the physical, but you have a much more possibilities inside you. So that's also something I hope, not only give the direct answering, but giving the danger some people have in telling about the happenings. Take away that so they can tell.
Yeah. Yep, very good point. Yes, thank you so much. We'll wind the meeting up there. We really appreciate you taking the time to speak to our group.